Ryder Road. It used to be owned by U.S. Steel, then it was owned by Consolidated Coal, and then I acquired it in 1990, part of the Newfield mine. It was an air shaft.
That's the property over by
Edgemead?
I think it's up behind,
Pardon?
it's up behind the S&T Bank up there, isn't it?
Yes,
Right
yes,
away.
yes, you're right. Okay, but it was zoned heavy industrial when I bought it back in 1990. And then they changed it to commercial. Correct.
The surrounding properties were rezoned. The surrounding property was rezoned to SR, single-family residential. What leaves a little pocket of red is left. I'll show you on the map.
Sure.
So when you have a little pocket of a different zoning from everything around it, that's called spot zoning. So what this amendment does is correct that. See how this is red and everything around it is yellow?
Yes.
So that's just to resolve that spot zoning.
But I'm right on the border, partially in Plum and partially in Van Hills. It splits down almost the center of the property there. But it's limited my use. I used to be heavy industrial, and I don't know how you got changed to commercial. I wasn't aware that it was changed. But was it commercial before? What's red? Red is
Single field.
GC, general commercial.
Pardon?
GC, currently it's GC, general commercial.
commercial. And then I think Walmart owns some property there also? How is that?
They may own property in Penn Hills, I'm not familiar with.
I think right next door, and they're commercial. So
So-
I object to the change.
Mr.
like
President,
that.
I think the issue here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Weiss, you and I have talked over the last few years about your desire to build a solar farm on your property.
Correct.
You and I had talked for a good part of a year about this, and I indicated to you that the way that this property is currently zoned, general commercial, that is not, a solar farm is not an acceptable use in that property, and then you would have to request a zoning change for that.
Yes, I,
This change to residential doesn't change that issue at all. You would still have to request, so whether it's general commercial or single-family residential, a solar farm is not a permitted use in either of those zoning districts.
I understand.
So it does not affect, which I imagine is why you're here tonight, your interest is in building the solar farm. This zoning change does not affect your status or your stance on that project.
okay. And I'm friends with Dr. Alvey. I've known him for years, and I would talk to him maybe about trading property so that he has the whole valley, because I have a 50-foot right-of-way that runs down 3,100 feet down through there that's right following the drainage channel, and then I own 5 acres down there at the bottom. And I talked to him maybe trading property over in the Penn Hills where
Right.
it doesn't take a zoning change for a solar farm.
What you should be aware of is that there is a pending application in front of the Planning Commission for a new housing plan on Dr. Alvey's property.
Okay, that's all right.
So, just so you're aware of that, and that will be in front of the Planning
Yeah,
Commission
okay,
this
like I say,
month.
we're friendly, and but I just didn't want to
Just
let
making you
this go
aware.
through without me making it hurt, because it makes it harder to do things, it seems. the
Very good.
Farther down the food chain you get on the zoning, okay? All right, well, nothing I can do then. All right, thank you very much.
Anybody else? It doesn't appear to be anybody else who wants to offer testimony or questions, so if there's no further testimony to offer, we're in a position to close the public hearing for this evening. I don't know that needs a motion, there being no further testimony.
Well, it can't hurt to have a motion. I'll have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Durant, second by Mr. Seitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.
anything change on that console water line thing?
So there's two issues. The one
Is it okay to move the boards now?
I think we have to now because the cameras are blocked.
We had a conference call with them this morning.
Thank you.
With Dawn. We've resolved all
Can't
the
see half of
issues.
it.
So it'll be on the agenda for next week.
Yeah.
So they've answered all
Oh, yeah,
those
sure, go ahead.
questions.
Yeah.
The reason that line started shutting
Thank
was the former property on Leechboro property. Stuff last week on the construction easement, but Mike and I met with them out in the field to discuss these issues. There don't seem to be any problems.
Okay.
What I don't have is an agreement for the temporary construction easement that I need them to submit to us and have reviewed by you guys as well as legal.
Okay.
Jason.
Dave side's gotta come back.
Yeah, it's just a text message. Yeah.
That's so funny.
You want something like that? I don't think I would come here for that.
For that, yeah.
You never know with kids.
Did you get it?
Good. Okay. We're going to call the work session for June 6, 2022 at 7 PM to order. We'll stand for the pledge, please. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Mr. Thomas, if you will.
Okay, the first item this evening on the agenda is the Paris Eastern Gas Transmission Lot Line Revision. The applicants are the Mr. and Mrs. Paris and Eastern Gas Transmission, both on property on Coxcomb Hill Road, 174 Coxcomb Hill and 170 Coxcomb Hill. This is a simple lot line revision. The Parises are selling a portion of their property to Eastern Gas Transmission for the, Dave, I believe it's for some additional facilities.
There's some future development at that site, that's correct.
This is a simple lot line revision. It only requires council to accept as complete at this time.
Any discussion? Okay, agenda item.
The second item is another Allegheny County vacant property program. This one is on Francis Road. We've been doing about 8 to 10 of these a year. Property is 271 Francis Road. The applicants reside at 271 Francis Road. They've applied to the vacant property program to acquire the vacant lot beside them. The applicants wish to simply maintain the lot as empty. Staff recommends approval of the application.
Discussion.
Mike, quick question, just curious, how does property become vacant? Is it just not off the tax rolls, and is it a right away?
Well, I mean, there's a number of different ways they end up vacant. Some of them are just obscure pieces of property that were subdivided many, many, many years ago and just have been sort of these non-conforming lots. Sometimes you have people that just abandon property, and there's a whole host of reasons how that happens.
Skip, in this case, it is a vacant lot where the taxes hadn't been paid. And as part of the county's, conditions or guidelines, once the property becomes delinquent for 3 years on county taxes, it's eligible for application through this. So I'm sure the people who live next door and who are applying already maintain this property.
Yeah.
They're going to continue to do so, but they would own the property
Yeah, good.
Any more discussion?
and pay taxes.
Yeah.
Okay, agenda item.
Item number 3 is the proposed zoning and saldo changes that were just reviewed as part of the public hearing prior to this meeting. I would like to just point out, though, that, like, there's a lot of information in there on the proposed changes. I know that Dave and Heather and Mr. Cohen kind of, went over a lot of the different things, but this has been I don't know, Dave, a year-long process?
Yeah, we started with the wireless changes probably back in 2021. And then at the start of the new year, we started focusing on, internal staff meetings to work through the documentation of this and, be able to talk, about the reasons for these changes. So it has been a process that's gone on for many months.
And the proposed changes, in addition to going through staff review and planning commission review and Allegheny County Planning Commission review, were reviewed much more in depth with the Council Planning and Economic Development Committee. So I just want people to understand this wasn't something that just somebody threw together in the last 30 days. And I also just wanted to comment really quickly on those issues with the parcels that Heather talked about. When you have 10,000 parcels and you have an electronic map, some of the parcels got incorrectly coded. That was a technical issue. They were never intended to be zoned how they were zoned, with the few exceptions that Heather pointed out that were where you might have a non-conforming property. Moving forward, though, my understanding is we have the ability to create our own zoning maps now.
So the amendment to this map, it was created in-house. We're managing our own GIS system in-house now, so we have a lot more control over this.
And this is recommended to do, if I'm not mistaken, every so many years, correct? To change, review your ordinances to make sure, zoning ordinances, to make sure they're compliant with like the latest.
Yeah, I think DCED says every 10 years.
10 years, right.
So this is the second comprehensive amendment to the ordinance that was adopted in December of 2017.
Okay, agenda item.
Okay. The 4th item is an executive session item to discuss potential legal action. Item 5 is items 5 and 6 are just, so Mr. Cohen went over those as well. That's the wireless communication facilities fee resolution that he discussed, as well as the design standards that he discussed. Those are also in your agenda packet. You can go over those as well. But those are just 2 more items. So there's sort of 3 components to the wireless communications issue: the zoning issue, the fee issue, and the design standards. So the zoning issue is included in the proposed changes with respect to zoning, with respect to wireless facilities, is included in the zoning amendments. The other 2 items, the fee resolution and the design standards, are standalone items.
So 5 and 6 will be agenda items.
Item number 7 is the resignation of a public works employee. At this time, we're just requesting the council accept the resignation. Technically, she's already retired. Her last day of work was June 1st.
Okay.
June 1st.
Agenda item.
Item number 8 is the request that David and I put together to retain a DP consultant to do an analysis and a review of the DPW department. Everybody knows that we've had so much growth in Plum and so much growth in the department. We're talking about adding an entire stormwater crew to handle all the MS4 requirements. We've had a lot of changes in turnover in staff recently. We've had a lot of younger guys that have come in, and we're continuing to grow. I mean, we have additional housing plans coming online with, can't think of the one down there by the park. Park's in the name. Parkside Estates. Parkside Estates, we have the new, we're adding new plow routes, we're adding new equipment, we're taking on more responsibility. And because we have some key administrative changes, we think it's probably time to have somebody come in and make sure that we're planning for this appropriately for the future, from a staffing perspective as well as an operational perspective. Jason Daly was the township manager in West Deer Township for a number of years, and he moved on and became the Public Works Director in Cranberry Township for 10 years or so. He just recently retired. I say that because he's younger than me. He just recently retired and just started doing some consulting. And what he does is he'll come in and he'll do an evaluation of your Public Works Department, operationally, from a staffing perspective, equipment-wise. Comes in and does an whole evaluation, says, here's where I think you need to head to be more efficient, more effective, more responsive. So we met, Dave and I met with Jason to talk about like what we thought that might look like. So that proposal is in your agenda packet. With the you know, we're gonna have to replace this staff member that just retired. We still have yet to hire a new Public Works Director. I mean, thankfully, Bill Burchek has been stepping in for about a year now, close to. But you know, he's not gonna be able to stick around forever. We have some other key personnel that are gonna be eligible to retire soon. We need to be planning for this better. So that was why David and I thought, with all these key personnel changes and changes to operations and adding additional operations, that it might be a good idea to have someone that can focus on how we can plan best for that for the future.
Well, it sounds to me like you're being very proactive, and I commend you and the staff. Agenda item, right, gentlemen? Great.
Item number 9 is we need to appoint, actually, Ms. Orovitz as the zoning officer. In February, when Heather was promoted from building code official to zoning officer, one of the things we forgot to do, we named Sam as the new building code official. We forgot to name Heather as the zoning officer. It's an official position. It has to be made by council, so technically Dave is still acting in that role. So we just wanted to clean that up.
Are you sure you want it? Okay. We'll make that agenda item then.
Item number 10 is the Allegheny County Foothills Association lease. For those of you that don't know, the Allegheny County Foothills is sort of like the Plum Historical Committee. They actually are located in the Plum Library, and they've had a lease with the Plum Library for years. When Plum Library came under the borough's umbrella and deeded the property over to the borough, the lease must now be in the borough's name, not the library's name. So included in your agenda packets is a draft lease agreement that Dane Dice was able to put together for us. Library board has reviewed it. They recommend it. It's essentially the same lease agreement. We've changed a few things regarding, obviously, the lessor. And then there's some other language that Dane insisted, but everybody seems to be comfortable with that. I would just ask the council authorize the lease agreement, and then we'll get it finalized with the Foothills Association.
Discussion? Agenda item.
Item number 11, unfortunately, we lost one of our PBMA board members last month, and that does leave a vacancy on the board. And I did receive a resume from a gentleman that's in your agenda packet that has expressed interest in taking that position on the municipal authority board.
Yep. I did get a phone call from this gentleman, and a phone call from Paul Zavarella, who highly recommends him. He's known him for 20 years, maybe longer. And I believe he's the only application we received, is it not? Okay.
Did we advertise this position?
No, he just passed away.
Shouldn't we advertise it before we just appoint someone?
That's council's discretion.
It could be done. We could advertise it.
I think
I
it's,
think it should be done.
yeah, I agree.
Okay, let's advertise it then. We'll table this. Or not table, just won't make an agenda item.
Yeah, you don't have to put it on the agenda. Item number 12 is executive session item. Item number 13, was recently approached by a vendor who was selling or promoting an employee benefit. It's an employee whole life benefit. We currently don't have, the employees currently do not have a whole life benefit option. This would be a 100% employee paid, no borough tax dollars involved. This is voluntary on the employees if they want to participate or not. I mean, there's no borough tax dollars being spent here, and it's not mandatory by any of the employees. It would just be making another benefit option available to those employees that wanted to take advantage of it. And I've included the proposal in your agenda packets from the provider. It's a $100,000 whole life policy for employees, guaranteed issue. It's a pretty nice benefit for those employees that would like to take advantage of it.
Great. You know, that reminds me, we don't have to do this for this month, but is this through CERCLA?
This is not through CERCLA. This
Okay.
is through,
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Circle gave us, gave me a thing to turn over to Paul as public safety. I have it in my car, actually.
Oh, for the firemen.
Yeah, it's an added benefit, voluntary benefit for the firemen too, for them to look at, so I'll give that to you after the meeting.
Is that an agenda item?
That's an agenda item.
Item number 14, so in your agenda packet, there's a request that we received through Borough Connect from a housing plan, housing, what's it?
HOA.
HOA, yeah, I was trying to think of it, homeowners association, had requested some additional traffic signs, specifically children to play signs on their roads. And I explained to them, I did reach out to her and spoke with the president of the HOA. I did reach out and speak to her and explain to her that you know, it seems a little bit crazy, cumbersome, whatever you want, convoluted, but you can't just add signs to the road. There are federal and state regulations regarding where a sign can be, how it must be made, reflectivity, all these different things. They have to be so many feet from other signs, and there's a whole lot of criteria that go into determining what signs can be where. I told her that we would look at, we can take a look at that, and we've actually reached out to the traffic engineers to try and take a look and see if some can be added. I will tell you though, on this specific street, Dave actually went out and counted. There's actually quite a few of them. But I bring this to council's attention, and I think there's really no need for council action. I just bring this to council's attention because we do get those sort of requests from time to time, and I think people don't understand that the federal Department of Transportation and the state Department of Transportation control those things, not you, not the staff and not council. There's a giant manual, the MUTCD, the Municipal Uniform Traffic Control Device Manual, and there's also that's the federal regulations and the state regulations. It's not just as simple as us going out there putting up another sign. And even when they change those MUTCD requirements, you'll notice like they changed the reflectivity requirements on signs. We have to go replace signs. They did that with stop signs recently. We had to go out and replace stop signs. So we're trying to handle this internally with the homeowners association, but we do get those requests from time to time. I just wanted to make sure everybody understands that we can't just go out because somebody wants even any kind of sign for that matter, any kind of traffic sign. We can't just go out and put it up unless it meets you hear us use these terms all the time, the warrants for the sign, for any traffic control device. Signs are considered traffic control devices. There's some information in the agenda packet on the MUTCD and the PennDOT regulations as well. I'm sure if anybody can't sleep tonight, maybe you'll.
So this doesn't have to be a agenda item then?
No, this is not an agenda item. I just brought it up for discussion purposes, unless anybody on council has any questions about it or suggestions or comments or.
So is it the idea that the homeowners association is gonna make some recommendation what they wanna see and?
Well, they did.
They do the application?
In that letter, they asked for a specific number of signs, and my point to her was, you can't just do that. Like, we have to, just because you think we should have 4 more of this sign, you can't, it either does or does not meet the warrants, and that's it. You can't just add signs ad hoc.
Right, but are we gonna
I'm
determine
gonna do
that?
5 additional signs.
Are we gonna determine that?
Yeah, we've reached out to the
Okay.
traffic
All
engineer.
right.
Yeah,
But that kind of begs the question too, because, especially with these newer plans, when they do these newer plans, they do a traffic safety plan. And so the assumption is when the traffic safety plan is submitted and reviewed and approved, that it meets all those requirements. So adding additional signs isn't necessary. So, and more often than not, what we're doing is we're spending a couple $1,000s on the traffic engineer just to prove to the person making the request that you can't do it. So really, that's
What would
a
happen?
large part of the problem.
What would happen if a new resident comes in and has a disabled person? I've seen those signs too. Would that have to?
Yeah, we do that. If we've had hearing impaired signs put up,
Yeah.
we've had vision impaired signs put up, but they still have to meet certain requirements, and sometimes we have to move other signs to make that
I see.
change.
They can only be so close together and
Yep.
stuff like that.
And they have to be a certain height, they have to be certain. And the other problem that we have too with these signs too is that people think we can just put, but all the new plans have underground utilities. So I can't just, there's a lot of, it's just not as simple. And she was very understanding of that and very appreciative, so she understood that it just isn't that simple.
Maybe you can call the chief, or this guy looks a little shaky.
We already have the A-team up here, Mr. Dice. We have the A-team here. Okay, so that does not have to be an agenda.
That is not
Okay.
an executive session. That is not an agenda, excuse me. Item number 15 is an executive session item to discuss potential litigation or legal matters. Item number 16 is, it's sort of similar to item 14. We received another request for a traffic study on New Texas Road. And I put in the agenda packet the email communication back and forth between the chief and the resident requesting it. And we get this, we get quite a few, I mean, you guys have seen, we've done this many times. We get quite a few requests for New Texas Road between 286 and Lindsay Lane. What people don't understand, we get requests for speed bumps, stop signs, all these things. It's a state road. We can't do anything. I mean, PennDOT has to do anything that is to be done. And PennDOT will only do things when they meet the warrants for any type of traffic control devices. We keep getting this request. We keep going to PennDOT and saying, will you do another traffic study? We just got one back recently. I just emailed it all to council. It was on 909 if you checked your email there.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hey, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. Do we gotta be careful when we do this? Because I remember in my younger years on council, we did that, and they did make a recommendation, and we ended up having to make a road one way.
Well, that's how School Road ended up being one way.
Right, right.
Yep. Yeah, but once PennDOT does the traffic study, whatever recommendations are result from that study, there's no discretion. It's not a, if
So
you want to.
What are the parameters as to how do we decide that we're gonna call PennDOT? You know what I'm saying?
Again, that's the whole
just
point
make
of
a
the
decision.
discussion here,
Okay.
is up to you guys.
All
But
right.
this specific request for like speed bumps on New
Okay,
Texas,
something
that's
like that,
not,
okay, that's what I
That's
was
never-
getting at.
that's not
never
gonna
gonna
happen.
All right, okay.
It's never gonna happen.
PennDOT does not do speed bumps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they certainly wouldn't do it on a descending curve heading towards 286. But again, we get these requests, and I don't want to just say, no, like, I feel like it's my obligation to bring them to you to at least discuss them. So, staff would not recommend requesting this study to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not an agenda.
It's not an agenda item then, if that's true. Item number 17 is a request from the Plum High School softball boosters to hold a softball camp. In your agenda packet, if you see, there's an email request from the softball coach from the high school. They want to do a 1-week softball camp for prospective high school students, girls obviously, it's softball. They want to do a 1-week camp for prospective so 7th and 8th grade girls to come out so they can teach them a little bit about softball and get them get them ready for high school softball.
I think it's a great idea.
I don't know why they wanted to do it at the Borough fields and not at the high school fields, but they did coordinate everything with the PBSA, so it's not, and it's an afternoon camp, Monday through Friday, so it won't conflict with anything. And they did provide us with the insurance certificate for $1 million coverage for the camp.
Agenda item.
Item number 18 is, so in your agenda packet, there's a proposal from Musco Lighting to install lights up at Larry Mills Field. There's already lights on the main field. These are the B field complex to the right as you come up the driveway. They're on the right-hand side. Plum Soccer received I believe, a $200,000 donation from Pat McAfee. And they wanted to put in lights on one of the fields, and they got a quote from Musco Lighting for $275,000 to put the lights up. They're not asking, their proposal does not indicate that they're asking for any money from the borough, they're just for permission to do it. I can tell you that staff has a lot of concerns about this because there's a lot of unanswered questions related to, maintenance costs, we don't know who's proposing to do what. If you read the proposal, there's some language in there about that proposal does not include any costs from the power company to be able to facilitate this. I have no idea what that could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, get a line there and everything else.
I don't know, that's what I mean,
Yeah.
but if,
It sounds like we're putting the cart before the horse here.
I don't know if you got a chance to read the proposal, though, it says that On June 14th, these prices are gonna increase by 20%. So, you know, and I only received this last week.
Yeah, I think we need to give them more time on mine.
Yeah, I'd love to give them an answer, but we don't have enough information.
Right.
So,
I may have received it in the last 10 days, but no further than that.
okay. I think it's the
I mean, not that
consensus
we
of
don't want it
everybody.
to happen. I'd like to see it
No,
happen.
absolutely,
I
but
think
there's
we
just
need
two-
some more answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, lights are expensive.
What would you like me to, so as far as an agenda item, is that yay or nay? And then what would you like, is there anything you want me to do?
I think it's not an agenda item. It's too early to do that.
Right.
And you should go forward and find the information that the questions you just
Yeah,
said.
tell them to supply you with the information we
Yeah.
need for next month, possibly. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole list of things here, items 1 to 9, that are all unaccounted for.
Yeah.
Cost-wise. And some of them could be pretty big.
It's just too
Yes.
soon.
Maintenance on those would be
Yeah.
huge.
Well, the one that concerns me the most is the cost for the electric company, because I know there's not power over there at all. There's no existing power over there. In any event, number 19, Renton Park Phase 2 contract. This is part of a,
Now,
not sure,
for-
is it 3 phases or 4 phases?
well, it was originally going to be 4 phases, but I think that we're going to consolidate to 3.
Yes. So this is Renton Park Phase 2, and we have a $100,000 grant for this?
I think about 130,000.
We have a $130,000 grant. The low bid came in at $180,000 or $179,130. This, just for some people on council's clarification, this does not include pickleball courts at this time.
The outrage.
We just didn't have it designed by the time we started talking about pickleball courts. Our consultant who does all our planning for Parks and Recreation has reviewed the bids. The bids were accepted on May 25th and recommends awarding the contract to Sports and Recreation for $179,130. We've worked with Sports and Recreation 10 times.
Yeah, they did Renton Park Phase 1, and they were one of the 2 contractors on Logan's Ferry Heights, the only phase that we did up there 2 years ago.
Any discussion? Okay, agenda item.
Item number 20 is an executive session item to discuss a insurance claim and/or potential legal matter. Item number 21 is the 2022-2023 trash fees. We talked about this last month because of the fuel increases, the price increase in fuel. That has triggered a fuel surcharge in our contract with Noble. We talked about last month, it's 82 cents per bill per month, per household per month. Or I think it's about $100 and some thousand a year.
Yes.
They're gonna use that towards maintenance of their equipment?
Well, that's kind of where I was heading with this, like, I don't know Dave and I just talked about this today, that we're trying to set up something with Noble. I don't know, we're not really sure what's going on, but we have a lot of problems with Noble recently, in the last 2 months. I'd
We have
say.
something set up for next Thursday.
Okay, he's already got it set up.
Good, good.
That's
And I know there's been a lot of, but see, there's been some other problems too, like, we got a lot of complaints over the weekend from people who didn't get their trash picked up until Saturday, except if they went to the borough website and saw the calendar,
That's
that
what-
was their that because
that's
of
what
Memorial
happens,
Day,
right.
that was their collection day, but we got
Everybody gets knocked back.
blasted with a lot of nasty grams from people saying they didn't pick up my trash. Well, they weren't supposed to pick it up until Saturday.
Mike, are you getting complaints about them, like, people put out, I know you're allowed that one bulk item, you know, are you getting many complaints of them not taking, like sofas and stuff like that?
I've only received one.
Me.
Okay. Wow. You just fell on
So
the
it's
sword
like
there.
that, is it, Mr. Taylor?
Meeting next week.
I put a hot tub
Tell
cover
me
out.
something if I can attend that
Just the
meeting.
cover, it wouldn't take.
Yeah, it's last Tuesday.
No,
Yes, we'll say that.
thank you,
Okay, agenda item.
because I'm the one that gets the calls.
So I just want to clarify the trash fee thing. We just brought it up yet again this month because of the complaints we've been receiving. We just want to make sure, because you know what's going to happen, right? We're going to add this surcharge fee to the bill, and everybody's going to say,
Right.
my service got worse and my fee went up.
Yes.
So I just want to bring that to your attention. We actually we just advertised the ordinance for enactment in July, so it doesn't need to be an agenda item this month, but I just want to keep this in everybody's mind so you're prepared for it.
So this is a temporary surcharge?
Well, it will depend.
Depending on fuel.
Next year, where fuel prices do.
Yeah.
So this will be the rest of this year then?
It'll be, because our garbage
Fiscal
contract
year.
runs June 1st to
Oh, so till next June?
May 31st, so yes,
Okay, so this does not have to be agenda item.
it does not.
Okay.
So what are the complaints you're getting about the garbage service?
Just delayed pickup, missed pickups,
They drove by my house when I
Equipment.
was standing out in the yard.
Did they take you with it?
Do you have your shirt on?
Keep a shirt on.
I don't know, Dave, that's pretty much. the
Yeah,
bulk of
I
the
think that the
complaints.
biggest issue is delayed pickup, I think for the first 9 or 10 months of the contract, we were doing all right, and in the last few weeks, it's delayed pickup. It's manpower issues on their part, it's mechanical issues on their part, which we're paying them, they need to find a way to fix this. So I'll say it's almost been a full-time job, trying to keep up with them and trying to keep up with the complaints and directing the company to pick these things up. And that's the reason that we've scheduled this meeting with them, to talk about these issues and see how they're gonna resolve them. But for the most part, it is, they're having mechanical issues to start the week off. And then, like, for example, I'm a Thursday pickup, where I live. My trash was picked up at 10 o'clock at night this past week. Now, I'd much rather have them come at 10 o'clock at night than not come to pick my trash up, but these are the issues that we're seeing. Delayed pickup.
Well, Dave, you had instructed me when you and I had spoken, getting a lot of the complaints to forward them on to Tessa. And she was gonna keep a log. My understanding is that there's no log and Tessa's not there anymore.
Well, Lorinda's handling those issues.
Never was it
and-
Tessa.
Yeah, so Lorinda's handling those issues, and we,
Teresa.
Whatever her name is, was.
they are, we have documentation on those, and, the other thing that we don't have access to right now are the complaints that are forwarded directly to county hauling. When the system was set up, that's the direction that the residents are supposed to follow. We're not supposed to be a call center for this, but, they're not getting the satisfaction from the call center. So they're calling us, rightfully so. I'd be frustrated if my trash continually wasn't picked up. And where we're seeing this constantly are the Friday pickups. Kellywood and the Ridge, there was about 2 or 3 weeks ago where they didn't get picked up till Monday. So there are issues, and we need to address those issues with county hauling.
Because I had the one that was done off of Pearson Run, can't think of it, it wasn't Trestle, whatever. 2 weeks they were missed, 2 weeks. Trash is sitting out there stinking and going on, that's unacceptable. I know,
I would agree, but I don't know what was in their can, there's certain things.
doesn't matter, it's hot and humid outside.
I agree. It's a bad time of the year to have your garbage missed.
It does not have to be agenda.
Okay.
The one problem too we are having, which we should emphasize to our residents, we have a lot of people that are just dumping trash into their cans without bagging it. That trash gets dumped into the truck and it flies everywhere.
They won't pick that up. I mean, if they notice that it's not bagged, and, that is the requirement, that it has to be bagged. If they won't pick it up.
Have we advertised, is that on the website?
It's on everything.
Yeah,
Everything we do every year, all
And
the
yet they don't
advertisements we send
want
out.
the recycled bag.
correct.
So I think people might get confused there, because that's an issue too, because sometimes I've seen, and they're not supposed to do this, but they might dump their recycle in there loose, then they throw the bag in after it. They're not recycling plastic bags. And then they're flying all over the place when they go to, put them up over the top, the bags take off. I've seen it happen multiple places. So there's a couple problems with that whole thing, so.
Well, we didn't have these problems with the previous company.
No,
Yes,
Or
we-
as
yeah.
many.
But
No,
the
we had,
recycle-
no, we did. We had these same problems.
the recycle
Not the.
Okay.
requirements have changed too since then.
All right, let's move along.
The next item is entrance drive request, another Borough Connect form that we got from a resident that insisted that we, and this person continued to submit borough requests, and I think still is, daily. until Entrance Drive gets repaved. Entrance Drive is not on the paving list for 2022. We did go up there, Public Works did go up there and make some base repairs to fix some of the area. It is alligator cracked, it is, I mean, it's not the most aesthetically pleasing street. We've been up there a few times. Structurally, there's not a problem with it. But they are continuing to submit a Borough Connect form until we agree to pave it. So I'm just asking you, do you want to put, notwithstanding whether or not the road is in bad enough condition that it would need to be resurfaced, right now, adding something to our contract is not a good idea because of fuel prices. We just went out and just asked them, because the bid came in so low, we went out and asked them to give us a price on repaving, on resurfacing the area in front of our salt storage shed, because it's getting, from the salt and everything, it gets beat up. The number was astronomical for a small little pad. I wouldn't recommend it, but that was one of the requests. I would just like to respond to this person that road will not, I mean, unless you want to add it.
We don't have any
know-
engineering done on this at all. We haven't
we have
looked
no-
at it.
Yeah,
no
do we know where we're looking at for next year?
We're working with KU on that right now. You know, our goal is to provide a list to council in the fall, but we don't have that list yet.
On
This
Entrance
may be
Drive,
something-
Isn't that a small section? Excuse me, isn't that a small section?
I'm unaware of the exact complaint.
Oh, it's got to be bigger than a pad out in front of the
Yeah.
salt shed.
It's a whole street.
It's a whole street.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Well, you know, if you're devising a plan now, you know, maybe look into maybe putting that, adding that to it for next year.
We'll certainly look at it, but.
But I know how we do our plan now, so if that's not on there, then we may have to revisit it.
There could be 10 streets that are worse off than
Right,
Entrance Drive.
yeah, right. I just, like, if that's the section we're looking at next year, then, yeah. So then we can,
We tried to deal with this in an issue of the Plum magazine, I think, last year. I think the problem is that the public's general lack of understanding of what it takes to build a road. And when you visibly look at a road aesthetically, it might look to be in poor condition, but it actually isn't. You could look at another road that actually looks like it's in really good shape, and it's in terrible shape because of the
Base
the base problems that we have and the sub-base problems that we have. So we can certainly, I mean, I think that was, we can certainly look at that for the 2023 contract. But
Mike,
we received.
do we still put, I remember when I was on council before, we put our asphalt out for bid. Do we still do that? Are we putting our supplies like that out for bid?
You mean the contract or purchasing asphalt?
Purchasing asphalt?
Oh, yeah, we do, yes,
Okay.
that's bid.
Okay.
Okay, so not an agenda item.
So that request has that Borough Connect form has two requests. The other one is this issue of the yellow lines again. If you remember, we went through this a number of years ago, and it comes up every so often. The painted yellow lines on some roads. There's study after study that will tell you that on certain roads below certain volume, certain speed limit, and certain width, the yellow lines are not advisable for a whole host of reasons that we don't really need to get into. Entrance Drive is in that category, and everybody, the public always tells us, well, you're trying to save money. Line painting is such a small, removing a few streets from our line painting program is such a small, it's not financially related at all. It really is about traffic safety. And I know that maybe seems counterintuitive to some people, but study after study will show you that on certain roads that are lower volume, slower speeds, and it's, by the way, it's 25 miles an hour is the road that we use. And within a certain width that doesn't have the required cartway widths for 2 lanes, we do not paint. That was the policy the council adopted, to not put the yellow lines on those roads for safety reasons. Again, that was one of the other requests in there. I just want to confirm that we're still following that policy, correct?
We are.
yes.
Like Malice Road as an example, correct?
Ross Hollow,
Yeah, okay.
section O block.
Now, Entrance Drive, Mike, that's the one that goes up, into Logan's Fair, right?
Yes.
And the one down from that's Columbia? Or-
Yeah, that's the sidewalk
Yeah.
behind there. Last one in Plum, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
By the creek.
Okay, so not an agenda item.
Item number 23 is an executive session item to discuss property acquisition. Item number 24 is an executive session item to discuss property acquisition related to stormwater projects. Item number 25 is an executive session item to discuss a tenant complaint. Item number 26 is an executive session item to discuss a proposed water line easement on Old Mine Road. And finally, item number 27 is the PennDOT traffic signal maintenance agreement that's in your agenda packet. And I'll let Dave explain more about that to you.
Sure, we're currently involved in a project on Route 286. We'd received a grant for signal timing, try and get our 5 signals to talk to each other. So we're in year 2 of 3 of that. As part of the kickoff for that, PennDOT certainly is part of this project, and they indicated to us that our existing traffic signal maintenance agreement, in their words, is ancient. So they've forwarded us their most recent standard agreement. So there is an agreement and a resolution that they're asking council to adopt. It's a standard agreement they use for all municipalities. Staff is recommending that council adopt the resolution and the agreement for PennDOT.
Discussion? Okay, agenda item. That brings us to the end of our agenda, except for public comment. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add for the betterment of the borough? Okay, seeing none, we are adjourning to executive session. Thank you all.